Good. Hi everyone, my name is Ivo Bek. I'm from Red Hat, as I've been introduced. I'm project manager for business automation products, mainly process automation manager and decision manager. And so what I'd like to talk here, you asked for is prioritization. And we as project managers mainly prioritize on a higher level. At least I do. That's why I'll be focusing mainly on like strategic prioritization and like balancing things and so on. So first, I'd like to talk about like our business, in Red Hat. So our core is like that. The open source is the main innovation driver. And so whenever you as a company want to innovate rapidly, you choose open source project. That's mainly because there are millions of projects, millions of developers, contributors to those open source projects. So you can see examples here. Linux is one of the examples. Docker containers, Amazon Web Services, also open source projects. From Facebook, we have React, JS, and Android is another example of open source project. So why I tell you this is because imagine we have these open source projects, even small projects, and you build a product that is based from these multiple open source projects. You can have hundreds of open source projects in your product. And it brings various challenges, mainly because you have multiple communities, and once you start prioritizing customer requests, and you would only do that, you could lose your community. So that's important for balancing, between the customer requests, your community, and keeping the innovation aspect of that project, because it's important also for the customers as well, to be on the wave and still be ahead of the competitors, because the innovation actually leads to a differentiated position in the market. So here is an example of a case study. It's an anonymous case study, because whenever you automate business processes, automate business rules, or constraint planning problems, customers are sometimes hesitant to share that they get these improvements from us, or just in general, not to show their competitors that they have these improvements in efficiency or anything. Okay, so when I got the invitation here to present, I actually asked why we as project managers we prioritize, why we do that. If we didn't do that at all, we could just choose randomly any features requests from customers here and there, and so some might be happy, it might actually work, but I think that we prioritize for strategic and impactful roadmap and development, because of course we are not going to get everything. When I go to engineering team and I ask, okay, I want this and that, I usually get the answer, we don't have so many resources. Everyone, QE, engineering, UX designers, everyone goes to me and says, we don't have resources, we need to prioritize things. So, and we as project managers, we care about our roadmap. So we are building roadmaps, we are building what goes where, which release, because we have various events happening over the year with partners, customers, Red Hat Summit is one of our largest events that we organize, and before that summit, we want to have some new stuff, some research things that we want to have in the product, perhaps somewhere in a corner. But we want to be ready to show it to customers. Okay, this is our direction. This is what we work on. What you can start using now. It might be a tech preview, but we are looking for get your feedback to improve those features, to improve those components, those tech preview features, and we will get to a point where you will get full support, and we can get you there. Okay, so then I was thinking, okay, so then well, we are free project managers for business automation projects. So you can imagine if we were about to prioritize all the features that are coming to all the community projects that we have in our product, it will be a lot of work for us. So what we do as product managers is to set the product direction, baseline, which means we have the component strategy. We know about one set of direction. Then we have portfolio strategy. So that's the middleware. So our products, business automation products, are in the middleware portfolio, which means that that you can deploy it in different market sectors. You can. We have customers in healthcare. We have customers in financial sector, in telcos, and many more. So it's a middleware product. You can build on top of it. You can extend it, customize it. So we have middleware portfolio strategy because we usually integrate with some other products, even in Red Hat, or we have partners. So we know that we cannot do everything. So, for example, for RPA, if you don't know that, it's robotic process automation, robot process automation. That's one thing where we, for example, integrate with another thing, AI ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's a very trendy topic, and there we invest into standardization. So, for example, PMML, that's one standard where you can generate PMML models, and we execute them. So at that point, we integrate it. Okay, and the last thing about product direction are OKRs. So that's objectives and key results. That's what we use to measure how we are going towards our goals, our objectives. So that's another for setting the product direction. Okay, and so when do we prioritize product managers? So when we set this product direction, this baseline, I get requests from customers and account teams. We run on BRMS 5. That's like 10 years old product that we still support. It has extended support, but these customers are looking for upgrading to process automation 7. So it's like two major releases, of the upgrade, and so of course these customers need sometimes some extended help, some enhancements, features, because they are looking for something that we didn't count with, for example. And usually we change the direction of the product a little bit. So the questions are if we want to bring in some of the use cases, some of the features that we had in the past or not, because in the past we decided not to go in the direction, and then we need to help the the customers to transform their processes and so on. And the last part is the strategic customer project. So we get requests from the teams that they have these opportunities with larger potential customers, and of course they might have some additional requests. Usually these are larger efforts, so we need to carefully consider if we include that in the product. What would it mean also to other customers, because we have a lot of customers. If you bring in some large feature, and that customer might not be strategic, that over time you would get large revenue from them. In my opinion, it's not worth the effort, to add something that takes time from the team, and you wouldn't get much from it. So it's important to recognize these strategic customers and prioritize those features that will influence, that will affect that this opportunity will become your customer, and it will become your strategic customer. These strategic customers, they usually innovate a lot. They are thinking about things that we didn't think about before, and that's why I believe these are very, very important and very worth to have, even from the community perspective. Okay, and there's this prioritization routine, like balancing things, because you often talk a lot about those cutting edge components, the future things, the community, the innovation things, but you don't so often talk about your core components, and they are base of your product. You don't get requests for them in a customer portal or anywhere. You almost don't know about them, but still they are base of your product, and you need to take care of them. That's why I mentioned here, and then we in our product, as I said, we still support PRMS 5. Now we are on Process Automation Manager 7, and we are still supporting some legacy components from that version, from the PRMS 5 version. Those components hasn't changed. They are still in a web application, still embedded, still working, so customers can migrate to PAM 7 easily, and using those editors, those components, and they are fine. So it's important also, to balance even the maintenance of these legacy components, and when it's too much, and recognize, okay, we don't want to take care of that anymore. We see that the customers are actually migrating and not using it so much, and then you need to say, now we will drop it. So of course we deprecate it first, but it's also about prioritization, what and planning, the deprecation plans, what will be deprecated and what we will be replacing it with, and then you spend and invest into some research and development, because as I said at the beginning, you want to fuel your communities, you want to innovate and help the communities, because if you are just taking from the communities but not contributing back, the communities will leave, and the project will die over time. So that's that important aspect, and then dependency management. I think that's clear to everyone because you have the dependency of the feature on each other, and it's important to recognize this dependency tree or dependency circle of the components, and that's what you will mainly hear from the engineering teams. I have some knowledge, technology knowledge, so I can imagine on the roadmap what needs to go first and things like that. There are sometimes some dependencies like that, but it's always best to check that with engineering, with all the teams, with all the product team. Okay, now I get to prioritization techniques. You might be familiar with some of them, perhaps some of you with all of them. I want to mention just two of them here, and that's feature buckets. So earlier I said that we have some strategic requests. These requests can be from the field, from the sales teams, like SAs, consultants, and so on. So you can have a bucket of the strategic requests. Then you have a bucket from customers, so customer RFEs, and it's important to have these buckets because when you get a request that doesn't belong into any of these buckets, and it can be virtually just in our mind, it doesn't need to be somewhere in the system, just keeping it all the time. It's just, okay, I get a request and it just doesn't fit into any of the category. It's not strategically aligned with what we want to do. So an easy answer is we won't do that, and the other prioritization technique I want to mention is by feature. So we use that recently for UI prioritization when we had the field folks, consultants, SAs, the team, and they got the budget, and they were actually buying user experience enhancements because they were complaining about user experience in some part of the product, and so we gave them this budget, and they were just buying the features. We had the estimations what it would cost. We know how many UX designers, how many engineers we can put into that effort, and they were buying the features, so that they could understand our position of privatization. And the important thing is that, okay, you get some outcome, some output of it, and you can use it as a guideline. You can use it exactly what was the output from that technique, but you use it as a guideline. Don't make a decision but based on these techniques just because these techniques someone invented, and they will work in every situation. But I think that was a really good exercise to actually understand what are the priorities for the field, and vice versa. It was a good exercise for them to actually recognize and understand our position. Okay, so here, I mentioned it before, the saying no to the features that doesn't belong to any of the buckets. that we had. But for example, recently I had a request to bring in some features from BRMS5. You know, the things how they did in the past, and at the end we realized, okay, but we are using completely different processes, different workflow how we do that today. At the end, but based on many questions, you know, just the critical thinking about what is actually needed, that they don't need those features from the old versions anymore. Even though at the beginning it really sounded that that makes sense, we should definitely add it. But as you are adding more and more features, you know it yourself that it's becoming less and less maintainable, and especially in open source projects, it can be really overwhelming when the customers they really use just small percentage of the features that are available even in the community projects themselves, and you are actually including all perhaps hundreds of these projects, those small projects, but then you have a powerful tool to actually customize and do anything you want. So it has some pros and cons. Okay, and here I want to warn you about one thing, and that's the feature voting. I don't know how many of you is using that, but I don't like that so much, and the reason is because there is some expectation when you start using that. If users, customers start seeing, okay, these features I could have just with adding one word, and you don't have the background of those users. You don't know exactly who are those people, why they need that, if they could use it something else. And at the end, they could find some alternative. Okay, I don't see that in the product, but I can integrate with something and get that feature or something, and you don't see it in a history or anything, and the circumstances and everything is changing over time. So if someone voted a year, 2 years ago, you don't know if that person actually, or if that customer is still needing that or not. Yeah, that's it. And this, it's important to know your limits. So I know that I have done Scrum teams. I know every one of them, what they are focusing on, and what large strategic efforts we can afford. Because they are taking some time, as you can see here, as an example. Those large strategic efforts, it takes us like 12 months to get it to some tech preview feature, tech preview component that we can show and get to full support. And it's really a commitment, you know. And then in parallel, you want to do this next generation research for the community, you know, to innovate and to become in the future the core of the platform. And that's the end. That's all for me.